Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Bro Coloring. In this episode, I will be covering different mediums onto which I like to color. Now I want to make one thing clear. You do not have to have a dong between your legs to color like a brother. You can even be a little girl and color like a brother. It's not about who you are or what you look like. It's about the way in which you do what you do. Today, I want to talk about how the barrier to entry into coloring is as high as you let it be. A true bro will color with whatever, onto whatever, wherever, whenever, and won't give 2 cents about anything else, including who's watching you color. At school, at home, at a friend's house, duck that Xbox, I gots to color. Let's get real. What do you need to color? To color, a brother needs 3 things. The first 2 are necessary. The third is optional. The first is a medium to color on. The second is a coloring device. The third is a pattern. Now, a pattern is optional. One can color without a pattern, but then that is more akin to drawing. I am not a drawer, I'm a colorer, so I won't talk about that. The first medium is plain printer paper. Printer paper has 2 advantages. 1, it is readily available, and 2, it is relatively affordable. Printer paper, however, is intended for printers, and that means it's intended for ink. It is not intended for most coloring devices. You will find that the surface is very smooth. This makes it difficult for color pencils to adhere to the surface of the paper. This is not a problem, however, for devices that use ink like markers. Printer paper is a great place to start. Never let anyone look down upon you for coloring onto printer paper. I use it all the time. The next medium is a drawing book. This is drawing paper. This particular drawing paper is from the company Hilroy, and they claim it is a rich surface, ideal for various dry media, pens, and inks. This says it is 50 pounds. That is a good density. Always make sure when buying paper that you buy acid-free paper. That way, it won't yellow over time. You'll notice that it is thicker than the average computer paper. There are, however, specialty mediums. This is watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is noticeably denser. It is 90 pounds. Make sure that you buy acid-free paper so that it doesn't yellow over time. You'll notice that this paper is not smooth. It is ribbed for pleasure. The next medium is paper for acrylic. This paper is extremely dense. It is 115 pounds. It is acid-free, extremely ribbed, has a linen texture. This paper gives your coloring the appearance of a painting. Those are the general types of paper onto which I color. Let us begin our discussion of patterns. While patterns are readily available on the internet, many people enjoy buying coloring books. The first example is this coloring book. It is called Color Therapy, the anti-stress coloring book, coloring for peace and relaxation. It comes from the dollar store and was relatively inexpensive. I want to bring your attention to what makes a good coloring book. The first thing is the most important, and that is the patterns themselves. They must be to your liking. The second thing is that you want a coloring book that is single-sided. That is, the image that you are coloring on occupies only one side of the paper. This is important for 2 reasons. The first is that if you color with ink, the ink will bleed through the paper and appear on the other side, rendering this side of the paper and the pattern that may be on it useless for coloring. Another reason is that when coloring with coloring pencils, they will not bleed through. However, you will see the pressure marks of where you colored on the back. It is nice when the coloring book allows for a way to free your coloring from the grasps of the book itself. This book has a serrated edge. Another aspect is the weight of the paper. You want a heavyweight paper. Next up is a book called Color Yourself Calm. I love the title of this book. This book is very special. It is a book of mandalas. I'd like to draw your attention to the left page. The left page is an example of how one may color the mandala on the right. You are free to color the mandala on the right as you see fit, but this gives you some nice inspiration at the very least. The next coloring book is called Color Therapy, an anti-stress coloring book. This is a popular series in art supply stores. This book is nice because it features many pages where the backgrounds have been pre-colored. This is an interesting concept. While it restricts creativity, it is nice to not have to color all the page. The next book is my first coloring book, Inspiration Zen, 50 Mandalas, Anti-Stress. And this is the first thing that I colored. This book, however, is an inferior product. The reason why it is an inferior product is that it is soft cover. It is not hard cover. The pages are not only thin, but they are also double-sided. This means that when coloring an image onto one side, it may ruin the image on the reverse side. Let me make one thing clear. While this is an inferior product, it is my first coloring book. Who cares if it's not perfect? It got the job done. It got me into coloring. This is a great book. There are also specialty coloring books. One such example is the Vogue coloring book. This is a fashion coloring book. My favorite coloring book is the official A Game of Thrones coloring book. I love this coloring book because it is single-sided, has quotes on the back of the pages. It, however, is a very adult coloring book. It requires much attention to detail. However, it is quite fun. If you've liked this video, click like. If you want to see more, click subscribe. And I will see you next Wednesday for another episode of Bro Coloring.